Why every fix you try eventually backfires, and the weird way to stop it. You know that moment when you solve a problem, feel a brief rush of relief, and then a few weeks later it's back, except now it's brought friends? A cost-cutting program that quietly killed quality. A new sales push that shredded customer trust. A reorg that shuffled the same dysfunction into different cubicles. Most people look at this and think, well, someone must be doing something stupid. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people aren't the real problem. The structure is. And until you learn to see structure, you'll keep rearranging the deck chairs on a ship that's still taking on water. Today, I want to walk you through the ideas in one of the most quietly radical books I've ever read, Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. Meadows was a biophysicist who turned into one of the godmothers of systems thinking, studying under J. Forrester at MIT, and her book isn't a collection of cheesy life hacks. It's a manual for perceiving the world as a set of living, breathing, self-perpetuating patterns. And once you see those patterns, the way you approach stubborn problems changes completely. So let's start with something that sounds like a stoner thought experiment but actually gets to the core of everything. The ship of Theseus. Picture a wooden ship that sails for centuries. Every time a plank rots, someone replaces it. After enough time, not a single original plank remains. Is it still the same ship? If you said yes, you're not just being philosophical. From a systems perspective, a thing is not just its parts. A system has three ingredients: elements, connections, and purpose. For the ship, the elements are the planks. The connections are how they're fastened together, the hull shape, the mast angles, the rigging. The purpose is sailing. Change the wood and keep the architecture and the function, and you still recognize it as the same ship. A school works exactly the same way. Students graduate, teachers leave, buildings get renovated. But if the relationships, the rules, the rituals, and the purpose hold, you still call it by its name. And here's where we trip over ourselves. When something goes wrong, we almost always attack the elements because they're visible. Sales dip? Fire the sales lead. Machine leaking oil? Swap the gasket. Quarterly numbers soft? Restructure the department. Sometimes it works for a bit. But in any system that's even moderately complex, the elements are the least influential part. The connections and the purpose are the quiet puppeteers. There's a classic exercise from Toyota called the 5 Whys. Imagine oil on the factory floor. Why? A leaky machine. Why? A worn-out part. Most organizations stop right there and replace the part. But let's keep digging. Why was the part worn out? It was low quality. Why did purchasing buy low quality? Because it was cheaper. Why did they optimize for cheap? Because their bonus is tied to short-term cost savings. Now we've found the real culprit. It's not the part and it's not the person. It's a connection, an incentive structure, that will keep generating the same failure with different part numbers until it's changed. The problem wasn't fixed. It was just repackaged. So lesson 1. When a problem becomes a recurring guest, stop blaming the furniture and look at the blueprint of the house. Now to understand how systems actually behave, Meadows gives us a dead simple model. A bathtub. The water in the tub is the stock, the thing that accumulates like money in your account, people in a city, inventory in a warehouse, your own stress level. The water coming in and going out are flows. If the inflow is larger than the outflow, the stock rises. If outflow is larger, the stock falls. Obvious, right? But here's why it's powerful. We obsess over inflows and ignore outflows. A company wants more headcount? Let's hire faster. That's boosting inflow. But they rarely ask, why are we leaking people? Lowering turnover, slowing the outflow, can be just as powerful and often cheaper. Personal finance? Everyone fixates on earning more, while subscriptions, small fees, and lifestyle creep drain the tub silently. Stocks also create something we don't appreciate enough: stability. A savings buffer means a job loss doesn't immediately become a crisis. Inventory means a production hiccup doesn't immediately starve your customers. Stocks are shock absorbers, and in a world that idolizes speed, we've been gutting them, and then we're surprised when things shatter. But systems really get spicy when stocks and flows start influencing each other. That's called feedback, and it comes in 2 fundamental flavors. The first is a reinforcing loop, the engine of growth or collapse. Picture a snowball rolling downhill or compound interest. Money earns interest, interest gets added to the balance, and now a bigger balance earns even more interest. It's the Matthew effect, it's why rich get richer, it's how a rumor can explode into a crisis, and it's why ecosystems can unravel so fast. The second is a balancing loop, the system's thermostat. It nudges things toward a target. You get hungry, you eat, hunger drops, you stop eating. A company sees market share dip, they cut prices, share recovers, they stop cutting. Balancing loops create stability, but they can also lock in mediocrity or keep you yo-yo dieting for years. Now here's the observation that will save you years of frustration. Every growing system contains both. If you see something expanding, there's a reinforcing loop driving it. But no physical system can grow forever. Somewhere, a balancing loop is waiting, maybe resource limits, maybe market saturation, maybe burnout. Peter Senge calls this the limits to growth structure, and it's behind almost every plateau that drives people crazy. Imagine a company pumps money into marketing. Awareness goes up, sales go up, revenue goes up, so they pump even more into marketing. That's the reinforcing engine. But as sales volumes climb, the distribution network gets strained. Delivery times get inconsistent, partners start undercutting each other. Reputation phrase. That's the balancing loop. The leader just sees that growth is slowing, so they react by doubling down on the only lever they know, more ads. But that doesn't fix the distribution snarl. It speeds up the damage. The more they push the accelerator, the harder the hidden brake presses back. The solution isn't more marketing. It's to identify the limiting factor, the distribution capacity, and expand that. When your effort stops working, don't just push harder. Find the balancing loop that's pushing back. That mental shift alone can save companies, relationships, and personal health. Now, the opposite scenario is just as important. Sometimes you need stability, but a reinforcing loop is dragging the system into a death spiral. Think of an economy losing confidence. People feel pessimistic, so they spend less. Spending drops, so businesses lay people off. Layoffs amplify fear, so people spend even less. The thermostat of normal price signals breaks, and the whole machine starts feeding on itself. In that case, the highest priority is to break the vicious cycle, restore confidence, stop the bleeding before you optimize anything else. So systems thinking hands you two distinct moves. When growth is blocked, loosen the hidden balancing loop. When collapse is accelerating, break the reinforcing loop. And now we have to talk about the thing that makes all of this 10 times harder. Delays. We love instant feedback. You press a button, something happens. But real systems almost never work that way. There's a lag between the action and the consequence, and that lag makes us stupid. Classic example, the hotel shower. The hot water heater is 2 floors away. You twist the handle toward hot. Nothing happens for 3 seconds. Impatient, you twist further. Suddenly you get scalded. You fling the handle to cold. A few seconds later, you're freezing. Overcorrection, rinse, repeat. The system isn't broken. You're reacting faster than the feedback can travel. This plays out at massive scale. During the Cold War, the US panicked it had too few scientists and engineers, so it poured money into training programs. But turning a high school student into a PhD takes years. During that delay, the shortage still looked acute, so the programs kept expanding. Eventually, a glut of graduates hit the job market, couldn't find good research positions, and the next generation got discouraged, setting up another shortage down the road. Here's the counterintuitive rule for systems with long delays. React more slowly, not faster. Meadows had a saying for it. Take 2 aspirin and wait. You know the medicine takes time, so you don't swallow the whole bottle after 5 minutes. But in business and life, we keep slamming the gas and then stomping the brake before the car has even shifted gears. If you're a distributor and sales spike for 2 days, you might panic order more stock. Because the orders arrive a week later, your inventory starts swinging wildly. If you instead waited a week to confirm the trend, the whole system calms down. You can sometimes shorten delays, that's what lean manufacturing and just-in-time supply chains try to do. But many delays can't be compressed. You can't fast-track trust or raise a child in half the time or shortcut the years it takes to genuinely master a craft. In those situations, patience isn't a soft virtue. It's a structural requirement. So let's bring this home. A system is more than its parts. Its elements, connections, and purpose. The visible stuff, the people, the hardware, the boxes on the org chart, is almost never the deepest cause. The hidden wiring and the quiet goals run the show. Systems change through stocks, flows, reinforcing and balancing loops, and delays. They don't respond in clean straight lines. They overshoot, oscillate, stall, and surprise. And here's the humbling part. Meadows spent decades thinking she could learn to steer systems precisely. Eventually she realized that complex systems can't be fully predicted or controlled. Not by governments, not by CEOs, not by any of us. But they can be understood. And instead of wrestling them into submission, we can learn to dance with them. To listen for the feedback, respect the delays, sense the limits, and adjust with grace rather than brute force. So the next time a problem returns and you feel the urge to change a person, a policy, or a part, pause. Ask, what connection am I missing? What purpose is this system actually serving? And where is the delay that's making me flinch too soon? If that shift in perspective hit something for you, let me know in the comments. And if you want more mental models that actually change how you see the world, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.